Land. Welcome to the show. We are live with Sean Davis, and we want you to wake up because it is time for Pillowman and Blanketboy to make the scene. Sean, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Man, you know, if I was any better, it'd probably have to arrest me.
All right.
So what is Pillowman and Blanketboy? I know a little bit about it, but I don't know the whole story. Tuck me in here.
Well, what it is Pillowman and Blanketboy was created by my son. He's 11 years old right now. He actually created them back when he was about 3 years old. Sitting down watching TV, and then all of a sudden, a little 3-year-old boy with a blanket around his neck comes, flying in talking about some person named Blanketboy, and I'm just like, all right, he's 3, whatever. So he runs off, and you think just like any other parent, when a 3-year-old is talking crazy stuff, that he'll just forget about it and go on about his business. Well, it just kept growing and growing. He came up with Pillowman afterwards, and it was crazy because he always liked sidekicks more than the actual superhero. He was always a big fan of Robin, and that was his thing. When he grew up, when he got to 10 years old, he wanted to be Robin. He actually thought that Batman and Robin were real. So it was just hilarious to listen to him talk about this. And the idea just never went away. I mean, he just kept talking about it throughout the years, coming up with crazy stories and all that. And then he just kept coming up with character after character after character. And it was just like, this kid is serious about this. So one day last year, we started talking about it, for real. And I was like, you know what? Let's see what we can do with it. Let's, put the pencil to the paper to see what we can come up with. And that's where we are today with Pillowman and Blanketboy.
Well, that's exactly why they created these sidekicks way back in the 40s, was so that the younger readers would have somebody to associate with and relate to in these otherwise adult superhero adventures. And it's obviously still working today.
Yeah. And what was so bad is, it was like the whole Santa Claus thing. I mean, when he found out that Batman and Robin weren't real, it destroyed him. It was a bad day.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, when you're 11 and 10 and 52, being a superhero is a valid career choice, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was his age, I was I was reading everything, but my favorite back then, and probably if I had to pick a favorite, even today, of the comics that had shaped me, would have to be those Nick Cardy, Bob Haney Teen Titans run from the 70s. Those things were just especially in the middle of the run, there's some serious adventures with some really gritty drawing that was leaps and bounds above the Jim Aparo, Kurt Swan stuff in my eyes. Mm-hmm. But it's great that he's telling the stories now. So you're doing the artwork?
I am. And the crazy thing is that I drew a little bit, back when I was younger, and it was about 18, and I, was going off to college, and I was like, I don't really have time for it anymore. So, I put down and stopped really drawing, and, I just did the occasional doodle here and doodle there. But like last year, I mean, he was just so passionate about it. I was like, I've got to do something. So, I picked up the pencil again, and it took me quite a while to get comfortable with actually showing, my art. And I still am not in anywhere near, professional wise or anything like that. But I mean, I feel like I'm growing every day. And I mean, I can tell a big difference from when I started, say 8 months ago, to where I am today. It's coming along. It's coming along, but it's been about 22 years since I really drew anything. It's the first comic I ever drew.
Well, I am very surprised to hear that, because looking at the images that are in here, this is good quality. This is far better than a lot of the first time out comic book writers. This is a lot better than some of the 20-year veteran comic book artists that I've seen lately. I mean, I can tell you already, you're way too good to get a job at Marvel.
Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff. It's just pretty cringeworthy.
But for something independent, this is definitely something. It kind of makes it look like you might want to be an icon for Serta or something. If you're,
I was like,
getting a free comic.
the My Pillow guy, and I actually wrote Mike Lindell and was like, look, and I never heard anything back. I didn't think I would, but I was like, this is perfect. Pillowman, My Pillow. I mean, it's like a match made in heaven.
So who are the villains that somebody like Pillowman and Blanket Boy would take on? I'm just going out on a limb and assuming that they're like sleep related villains.
And actually, they're not. They're really not. It's just those two guys right there are the only ones that are really sleep related. Well, there is a guy that he came up with, Bedbug, but we haven't got into him yet. But this comic right here, Maximum Velocity, is just like a one shot. It's the real story. We would love one day to have like a monthly series, because this is just a little story to lead you into the main storyline. But this guy right here, if you go to that one picture where the close up of his face is, that's Maximum Velocity. And he has a team of robots. He's got robots. He's got a big mech. I mean, he's just throwing everything that he possibly can at Pillowman and Blanket Boy. And the thing is they've never met him. They don't know who he is. But the thing is that he knows everything about them. He knows their weaknesses. He knows, what makes them tick, all that. And they just don't understand, because the story picks up like as if they've been around for a while. I didn't want to make it a origin story or anything like that, because the comic is basically for, I don't want to say just kids, but we wanted to make it something like you see back in the Silver Age, where it's like just good versus evil, good, clean superhero fun, no political undertones, nothing like that. We just wanted to make it a comic book. And so we wanted to make it to where it's just like puts you right in the middle of the action and tries to keep your attention. So it's not like, oh, well, talky, just dialogue out, out the wazoo. So we have that right there where it's just throws you right into the action. And
so it's solid Pillowman and Blanket Boy all the way through. There's no secret identity thing going on here, because I'd love to know how this guy changes into Pillowman, or if he's that way all the time and nobody just notices when he's out of costume.
No, he's actually it's actually been around for a long time. He gets his power from the golden feather, actually. And if you scroll down the page, you'll see one of the last pages that I put for the page art. You'll actually see him in his final form, because he has to use, I'll show you when you get down in there, but he uses the power of the golden feather. This is like his last resort. And once he uses that power, he goes down into a cooldown zone where, he's used everything that's within him to destroy whatever he's trying to destroy, that he couldn't do it without using it. So when that happens, he becomes just a pillowcase until he gets his power back.
So it's sort of like when Ultraman does the whole wrist crossing thing. He's like, the final, this one takes out anything. The one I always said, go to that first and save a bunch of time.
And then Blanket Boy, his thing, they all have cooldown powers, because I didn't want to make them like nothing can harm them. I mean, Blanket Boy, when he uses too much of his power, he goes into like a pillow cocoon where it has to, you'll see him right there. He's in his pillow cocoon. He's all wrapped up in it, and it's the blanket is trying to get his power back, because the blanket is actually alive.
I was going to say, it's all over the place like Spawn's cape.
Exactly.
And it looks like it's alive. So
but it's a blanket. But
so this is Maximum Velocity, and this is not.
That's Maximum Velocity, and that's his big mech right there. That's his final boss to try to take out Pillowman and Blanket Boy.
So is Maximum Velocity some kind of a speedster?
No. He's just normal run-of-the-mill bad guy that's trying to steal a secret weapon, and the secret weapon actually ties in and goes into the main series. It's kind of like the MacGuffin.
Gotcha.
But you'll see, keep going down, and the big thing is that their goal is to try to save that guy right there, the old retiring security guard that works at the place where the secret weapon is. And you see how right there on his head, the little feather starts burning when he's about to use his last power. So then
Gotcha.
he goes up, and then there it is.
I didn't even notice he had 4 arms.
Well, he doesn't. Just in his final form, he does.
Oh, okay.
You got to think an 11-year-old is the co-writer. So whatever we can do to make it look cool, that's what we put in there.
Hey, that's go for the freshest imaginations you can get.
And
somebody who's not jaded by so many years of history.
Exactly. And it's hard to keep up with him sometimes. It really, really is.
This is all very cool.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I really do. I mean, I would like to get out there and draw something that I know would probably, sell quite a bit, on a Kickstarter or Indiegogo. But, I want to do this for him because it's something that I think is pretty cool. I mean, it really is. I wish I would have had at 11 years old. I wish I would have had somebody that was like, "Hey, I like your ideas. Let's do this."
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why I wanted to do this live stream, because I've got one of those myself, and he does graphic novels featuring adventures of our cat. And I try to encourage those when I see them. So when I saw that this was something that your son had created and you were working on, I definitely wanted to put it out there for people to see, and to hopefully push this Indiegogo some here where you can get it into making it a reality.
Yeah, and like I said, if for some reason we can't get it, and we got 3 days left, I could extend it, or like we talked about earlier, I could just let it go, retool, and come back. And I'm not going to let it deter me from finishing this thing. I mean, I'm hell bent on getting this thing done for him, and hopefully go even further, because the story after this is just so big, so vast, that we want to be able to tell people about the stories. I mean, it's huge.
So how is he writing the stories? I mean, is he just kind of orally telling them to you, or are you going out and getting him scripts so that he can actually see what the formats of writing is and hone his craft early on?
No, we don't do it that way. I usually work at the kitchen table on my iPad, so I can still be involved with the day-to-day life. My wife, my other child, she's 15, and then my son, and he goes out and plays Minecraft, plays with Legos and stuff like that. He'll come down, tell me, such and such and such, and I'm like, okay, and then he'll run away, go play, do whatever, come back and start talking about it again. And then finally I'm like, look, write it down or draw it out for me, and then we'll go from there, because he thinks, on his feet. He doesn't write down anything. I have to be the one that's like, okay, what did he say here? What did he say there? And then we go from there. We don't really have it all jotted down or anything like that. It's like, I've got to keep up with him.
So it sounds like you're doing it the old Marvel school way there. Just draw those pictures in order, and now we'll come up with what they're saying.
No, there are, I do write down some of the stuff that he says, but I mean, there is a script and all that good stuff. But to get to the script thing, I have to, work around him.
So how many pages are we looking at with something like Maximum Velocity? Because
we're
shooting for the graphic novel size rather than.
We're looking at about 48 pages, and I would like to include at least 4 or 5 of an epilogue to go into the next series, because it does. I didn't want Maximum Velocity to rely going into the main series, but I wanted to have something to show you, like, hey, that secret weapon that he was looking for, guess what? This is why he was looking for it. Even if I didn't include it, it wouldn't be necessary for the, because like I said, it's like a MacGuffin. You know that he's looking for it, but ultimately it doesn't really matter.
And it serves as the hook. If you do show it, it's the hook to bring them back for the next issue. And if you don't show it, you've still told a great story.
Exactly. Because I mean, I call him a little Stan Lee, because I swear there's about, I think I was counting the other day, there's at least 30 characters that he has for this whole universe of his, this Pillowman and Blanketboy universe. I mean, you got the bad guys, and then you got other heroes that are in the same universe that could have their own books, and so on and so forth. And it's just ridiculous. And I was just thinking today, I was like, what could he, if he kept with this, what could he have in 10, 20 years if he wanted to continue this? I mean, it's scary.
Oh, absolutely. And, I hear so many doom and gloom videos about, the comic industry is collapsing. This is the end of the comics industry. And at the same time, I'm seeing this as a new renaissance where, the fact that people can crowdfund comics uh, is going to make it so that anybody who has a modicum of talent can become successful without having to, spend the years of rejection going to the big two or some of the other indie companies. If you can draw it, and if you can draw an audience, and you can reach that audience through social media and Twitter, and have them invest, then you have a company.
Exactly.
Zach's put out 3 books, and he's got made nearly $1 million off of 3 books. And he certainly wasn't going to do that trying to go to DC. Ethan was at DC, and I think he's done better in 2 years on his own than he did in his entire career.
Yeah, it's crazy because when I was growing up, it was just DC and then Marvel, and then you had Image, and that was the indie guys, and then you had like Valiant and all that good stuff. And now it's like you don't really need them anymore for good comics, good stories.
Yeah, this is to me this is the late '80s, early '90s all over again, when everybody's making something and putting it out in the market. And it's going to be a case of there's going to be a lot of junk out there, and the good stuff is going to survive. And the big two aren't going to like it and ignore it.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just a little bit more vocal, I think, from the quote unquote professional people, because they act very unprofessional when they start talking about the people who are crowdfunding their comics.
Yeah. And I mean, you would think that it's like, you would think they would be happy that there's more people coming into the comic world, that we can, keep it going instead of just letting it just die away and hope the movies, will bring in readers and whatnot. And as we know, that's not happening.
That's definitely not happening. And books like Pillowman and Blanketboy not only have the chance of bringing more people into doing comics, it's bringing more kids into doing comics. Because when kids are wanting to make comics, then kids are going to want to read comics.
Uh-huh.
And vice versa.
And, a lot of people think that this is just a kid's comic, and ultimately it is. I mean, it was written by a kid or co-written by a kid, and it's his idea. But we don't want it to just be for kids. I mean, I think some adults will enjoy it. I mean, like I said, it reminds me kind of like the Silver Age. I mean, you didn't have any nudity, any cursing or anything like that. It was just, here's a comic. You're going to read it. You're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy it. There you go. And it just doesn't have to be just for kids, but it would be nice to get them to read this and like it and get into comics, because a lot of comics out there right now, I wouldn't let my child read it. I mean, a lot of from DC or Marvel, because if I want, my child already goes to public school. They're already getting indoctrinated. I don't need comics to do it as well,
Exactly. Like you said, you could pick up any issue of Superman, Batman, Spider-Man in the 70s, the 80s, and anybody could read it. It was all ages. And somewhere we've hit this split where the comics that are the mainstream, so-called, are for everybody 25 and up. And the all ages stuff is 6 and under. And there's nothing for that real formative readers' years of the tweens, where they can get into an adventure that they can enjoy, and they can see themselves as maybe creating something more like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I told people, this is not in the same lines of like Captain Underpants or, SpongeBob or something like that. I like to think of it like, the 90s cartoon Tick or, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. And, it's just fun. I mean, it really is.
Well, I'm hoping all the best for you, man. So I'm going to keep retweeting this video out when we get it done here. I'm trying to see if that, I guess I have to refresh this thing to see if it changed any, and I'm hoping to goodness it does. Let's just give it a second here and see what happens. Speed of light's not what it used to be. all those photons. Okay, so I don't have any change in there yet, but we're going to work on that.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, I mean, I'm not going to let me get it down. I mean, I'm not going to let that get us down. We'll retool. We'll come back with probably a lower lower goal and just see what we can do, and hopefully get back out there, do some more live streams, just get people to know who we are, who I am, and hopefully get them excited for Pillowman and Blanketboy.
Well, let's look a step beyond that. Let's assume that this does become a success and you actually get it out there. What happens after that? I mean, are you prepared to go to some local conventions and set up some signings?
Oh, I am. I'm most definitely. I mean, we would like for this to go mainstream. I mean, we would really love it. And
Yeah,
I know he would.
I would love for this thing to at least hit its goal so you can do production so that you could call up, local media and hit the human interest stories in your local TV area, because that would be the kind of thing that they should be all over. And that could really help this blow up.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd like to get it into, at least our school district's libraries, stuff like that. And, I mean, we even have a tier on our Indiegogo about, donating a bundle of books to children's hospitals, just so that they would have, something to take their mind off of whatever is going on in the hospital, try to give them something to look, to at least raise their spirits,
Sure. Now, you've got a $3,000 goal on here, but it's really a $1,500 goal you're trying to shoot for, right?
Pretty much.
Okay. So everybody watching this, the link is in the description. Click on that. You've got 3 days to get in there. Push Pillowman and Blanketboy off the edge of this bed and into a real book. We want to see this one happen. Sean, I thank you for giving us your time and sitting down and talking with us about Pillowman and Blanketboy Maximum Velocity. Again, best of luck to you. I'm going to keep retweeting this. I want to see this one happen.
Hey, well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, and hopefully we can get this thing across the finish line.
We'll see you in the funny pages.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.